There we go.
All right, perfect. I'll go ahead and jump in. Thank you to everybody that's able to join in. There'll be a lot of resources in those slides. I am not in any way going to try and jam them all in 20 minutes. I'm going to share some things that I have fun with, some things that I was amazed by that I found connected to Google Goodness, but I will make sure I tuck the link into the chat multiple times as we go through. Please feel free when you jump in to essentially choose your own adventure. You do not have to in any way stick with me. I'm sure some of it will be things that you know, some of it hopefully will be new to you, and you'll find some hidden gems along the way. But I am Patrick Hausman. You can find me at phausedu.com. And as long as you remember PHAUSEDU, if you put .com after it, you have the website. Put at before it, you have me on Twitter. And if you put at gmail.com after it, you'll have email as well. So as long as you remember that, you have all of the contact information you could possibly need to get in contact with me in one way or another. I'll go ahead and skip down to slide 3. That's where you kind of have your table of contents for your choose your own adventure if you want to go that route as I start to share and dip into it. I've tried to lump the resources into categories, but you can notice towards the end there's one that's just more hidden gem fun and resources. So there's a number of things that just didn't fit one of the categories, so I just threw a bunch of links into various different places. So most of them are organized for you, but there's going to be a number of links and things that are just kind of spilled out so that you can, again, choose to kind of explore, have fun on your own. But it starts off with Google Chrome and search because that's where a lot of people start out. And I'm sure a lot of you have played with it already. But of course, one of the fairly new Chrome things from not too far back is the QR code creator that sits in the top box of any of the URLs. Really nice, really quick way to get yourself a QR code that you can then easily launch out with, especially most of the new phones having that ability to very quickly scan a QR code without another app like we used to. And something that I may lose some of you for at least the remaining 18 minutes I see on the clock. There's a number of different instant searches, and I love playing with the instant searches off and on, not only for the game side, but also some of the educational ones. If you've not played with any of these in a while, there's a few games that you may not have known have popped up. Number one, if you search Tic-Tac-Toe, you get a live Tic-Tac-Toe board where you actually play against the computer and see how well you can do. You can set difficulty on that as well. You can also jump into a game of solitaire. And again, you can see in the search box, it's really just searching the word that is the beginning of the game. Choose your difficulty, launch in, you're off and running. Another one from years back, you'll see Minesweeper is another one of those instant searches that you can play with. And one of my favorites when it came out, and one I know that as I have been off and on doing different presentations and launching things or putting thing on like that first slide so people can have something fun to play with before the session really jumps in. Pac-Man is by far the one that has gotten clicked the most because I hear that music start as Pac-Man starts to queue up on their computer and people are enjoying it, having fun, kind of rolling with a blast from their past. A few more of the more educational searches, of course, include things like finding the area, finding the volume of a shape, graphing equations. And I was blown away more than once by how complicated or how complex of an equation you can actually put into that Omnibox and get it to graph the equation. I've seen it actually draw figures, draw rows with a stem. It's really amazing what it can do. And I point that out for teachers so they can know it's possible, but also know that however complex of work you're putting in front of the student, it may be able to be finished or completed just by putting it in a Google search. And again, some more of those instant searches on your screen there. A couple of these blog posts you see come from Control Alt Achieve and Eric Kurtz, fellow innovator. One of the newer things that has come into that search you might not have had a chance to play with a lot yet is the world of doing STEM related searches. So that's science, technology, engineering, mathematics. If you type in a concept in that world and then type practice problems after it, the search results you get back, as you can see from the example on the developers page, is going to look a little bit different from what you normally would. And you really have to get that search kind of right for it to happen. But you can see, at least on this one, instantly at the top, you actually have legitimate practice problems, and you have this different sidebar that's going to come up and give you things that are different from your typical search, aligning to, again, that ability. And I will go ahead and jump onto the screen share just in case people are not in the shared side. I'll go ahead and share the screen that I have up. Let me actually move my meet to my other monitor so you guys don't get bonus goodness. But just in case you weren't following along in the deck itself, all of these things are in the slide deck, and the slide that I was referencing is slide number 7. You should be seeing that now, but just in case you weren't kind of following in the deck as I went through, it'll link to that practice problems, and from there you would see the practice problems there, and then you see that bonus sidebar, that different sidebar I was talking about and describing for you there just a second ago. So there's a lot of different things in the world of search that is kind of a different thing. And hopefully, something as you go through, you'll get some time to explore some of these different things. And by no means will we go slide by slide, but there's a number of things in here that are kind of just cool little extra bonus things. As we dip into that coding and digital citizenship side, a lot of you are going to know about the applied digital curriculum. You're also going to know about the Interland and the Be Internet Awesome side of things. You'll see a range of the different coding things on your screen right now. One of the ones that I had not known about is the one there that is called Code Next, which, as it says there, is Google's program that works with high schoolers to cultivate the next generation of Black, Latinx, and native tech speakers or leaders. So, this is a program I had no knowledge of whatsoever, but you can see there's a full curriculum on there. There's a lot more information to, again, start to get some of these groups that are typically underrepresented in this area, help them to jump into that area. And it was a really unknown Google thing that I stumbled across, and that's one of the things that I really try and get into this slide deck is some of those things that we definitely know of, but also some of those things that we maybe haven't heard of much before. Like in-game viewer, a lot of us have known over the years as something you can enter a phrase and see when throughout history that phrase has really become a popular thing. And just to illustrate the fact that it still does work, just in case you remember it from years and years ago, I threw something that I was pretty sure didn't exist until very recently in. So I threw fake news into that search box. And as you can see, fake news was nowhere in history until very recently when it really started to pop up. It had never really been a thing before because really it's not really a thing now. But you can see when it jumped up, when it got used a ton was very recently. And you can obviously type a number of different search terms into that to get different ideas in that box. There's also a number of other things in here in the data side. One thing that I didn't know had existed before is actually on slide 19, which is a public data directory. And it has tons of data across a number of different things. So if you're ever doing something where you need to demo data, it's a great place to go to just to really easily grab data, copy and paste it, and be off and running with something you can use in your various projects. And again, I'm not touching on a lot of the different things in these sections. If you bookmark this slide deck, you'll have it. I never take them down. All I do is update them, fix broken links, add new things I stumble across. So definitely feel completely free to bookmark this one so you have the most current. As we come down from there, we'll be into the drawing section. So within this drawing section, you're going to have some of those normal things that we know we've heard of, things like Google Drawings, but you might not have seen, for instance, the blog post that takes you step by step. Here, where it says from Ditch That Textbook, that part that is linked in there actually walks you through a project where students, and I would say very patiently, take an image that they find online craft it out as far as cutting it out with the tools within Google Drawings and actually end up from a picture of Captain Marvel making that mosaic that you see right here. And then as you come down from there, you can see some of the other creations. But again, a tool that we've used, a tool that we know of, but maybe a different use that we weren't quite thinking of beforehand. And as we come down from there, you're going to see a few more Google related tools that I thought fit in the drawing and design section. One of the newest ones there, if you haven't heard of it, it only really works on Chromebooks, so I won't click it here because I'm not currently on a Chromebook. But Cursive can be a very nice, it can be an online whiteboard, but it can also be, as it says there, for handwritten notes. So it's something our lower grades have touchscreen Chromebooks, so it's something really nice there where they can actually touch and write, or could use a stylus to be able to write. But if you do different things with design work, especially online design work, slide 23 is probably going to be an awesome resource for you. You'll see there's everything here from different fonts and icons, web design, artist palettes, all kinds of different things linked to this one slide. If you don't check out anything else on this slide at all, I would click the smallest link on that page that says resources, and that will jump you to the material design page that comes from Google, but it'll jump you straight to the page that has, in my mind, a lot of the most commonly used things, including those material design icons and the Google Fonts library. And I'll click on that one just to open it quickly for you. But this is essentially your completely free online store of tons and tons of different fonts. And you'll see as I scroll, it'll keep changing, keep updating. I can also type a different message so that that's what I see. I can search fonts, control what size it is, so I really get a good idea. Then I can download any of those fonts I see to install them on my computer. If I'm doing some design work and I need to get a good palette that works together, I have that. And just a ton of different tools, resources, all on one page. And in case there's not enough necessarily there, you're only on one part of this material design page. You have all of these other tabs, including the blog that you can jump to and get tons of ideas and different really cool things. Again, I don't do a ton in design, but if I need a new font, if I'm really looking for colors that go well together, I know there's other resources out there, but I really like how many of the things are in one place here. And I am curious as I go through some of these things, if you're live there and haven't lost you too much already in the various links, how have you guys picked up anything new yet at this point? Did you know that all of these things were out there? And in any of these sections, are there anything that you know you've used that isn't in the slide yet? I would love to kind of learn, collaborate with you as we go through. So again, two questions to think of there in the chat. Have you picked up anything new yet that is definitely, yeah, keep this in here, Pat. This is really something good. And on the other side, have I missed anything? If you do different design work, different things like that, did I miss something in this drawing section? Is there a cool Google drawing tool out there that I might have missed? And again, a few more things in here. There's a section on for families as well. So different resources I found that tie directly to families. The Google Families Center or that families page is definitely something we've shared out because it has that internet safety. It has the approved apps on the teacher side, but it also has Family Link, which a lot of, especially our parents started to use during COVID and things when screen time really started to become a concern because everybody was on devices a lot. It became a really nice thing when Google allowed you to also manage workspace devices with that, so they could control some timing, things like that, but a great resource to be able to easily push out. I'll go ahead and jump through this section into the geography section, and the only one I'm gonna point out in that chunk, and there's obviously a ton more that I could, is Google Arts and Culture. I'm sure a lot of you have played with it, a lot of you have used it. The two that I bolded are two of the kind of harder to find things in, like, it doesn't jump out to you in the drop down list. They almost seem like they're a little buried, but the learn takes you right to what I call essentially the teacher page of Google Arts and Culture. So you're going to have the different guides here at the top. One of the things I really like is this by subject menu at the top where you can click and see like how does arts and culture at all tie or could be taught within a computing realm. You have resources that are going to jump right out to you. Different downloadable lesson plans, different field trip ideas, and as my computer loads them up here, a ton more resources to help pretty much any content area teacher utilize the great resources that are within the arts and culture app. And as I scrolled through there, you probably saw the field trips listed there, but there is a whole separate page created by Google for virtual field trips. And you're going to see fairly quickly if you used them before, a lot of these, if you click on any of them, you're going to notice that it's actually where Google Expeditions now kind of lies. Those 400 plus tours that have been brought over, this is where they lie in those virtual field trips. So if you've been looking for them, it's obviously not quite the same experience, but it is at least a great resource, especially in a rural community like I teach in and I work in. It's an amazing resource for our teachers and kids to be able to see a ton of different places in the world. And of course, there's a bunch of new things popping up that'll give you more of that Google Expeditions interface and control that you've had before that won't be available in these. As we come down from there, just to highlight a couple more of the sections you see, there's going to be a section here all about different little things with Google Workspace, some of those tools we utilize the most. Hopefully, there'll be a few things you pick up in there. One of the things I always share because it's a super simple thing, but it's become super helpful for me in particular. If you're on a Mac and you are in a Google app, make sure you're not in a text box, or if you're on a PC, substitute control. On a Mac, if you hit control and then the slash key or control and the question mark key, or sorry, command, and if you're on PC, hit control, it'll actually bring you up the keyboard shortcut menu for whatever Google app you're in. Sometimes you get a little hiccup on the Chromebook, but the same keystroke should work there. But you'll see, for instance, here in Google Slides, these are going to be all of my keyboard shortcuts that exist in Google Slides, really quickly, easily brought up, and then easily searchable as well. And I know that you can jump into the help menu, get the same thing. But again, it's always nice to know a keyboard shortcut for your keyboard shortcuts. You have then a whole section here on learning with Google. One of the ones that I always point out in here is going to be the Grow with Google. As we kind of went through the pandemic and are still obviously going through the pandemic, this Grow with Google was a page that we actually shared with a number of our parents and community members because it is a page where a lot of the resources are free. Actually, most of them are completely free to where your community members, your parents, your guardians can actually learn different computer skills and they can do it for free, get an actual industry credential certification that they can then use that is accepted and respected out in different industries. Just a great place to learn. And I know this is a little more technical than some of the resources like just learning various Google things. But as a free resource, it's a really amazing thing that we can share out and push out to help people. And as we get close to the end of my time here, something I always love to share in the world of hidden Google things, if you haven't spent some time exploring it, experiments.withgoogle.com is one of my favorite rabbit holes to go down. So many different cool things that aren't yet part of core Google things, but are really amazing, fun things that you can get into. And a lot of them are distinctly educational as you dive down through them as well. So it's not just a place where you get lost, spend time, and not come up with things you can use in the classroom or share to be used in the classroom. There's some amazing things there that can spur ideas, but again, also do legitimately educational, awesome things within the classroom. Tons more resources within the slide deck. Again, please connect with me online. I'll scroll back up to that very first slide just in case you didn't snag the bit.ly out. That is up there, as well as my website that has my email on it and my Twitter handle as well. I appreciate the fast and furious 20 minutes that you spent with me. Hopefully you got some tips, some tricks, some new things you hadn't seen before. And again, share more my way. Always looking to expand, learn, and grow. Appreciate your time.